Okay, so welcome to part 2 of our introductory series on creating auxiliary views. In the first part of this video, I did a sketch of an auxiliary view. That was one of your sketching assignments in Module 5. So I did one of those sketches, and now I'm going to recreate that object using in AutoCAD. So the AutoCAD portion of this is not one of your assignments. I'm just using it to kind of show you some of the auxiliary view techniques and stuff. And since we already created the answer, the auxiliary view of this surface, then it should make a little bit more sense. So because the sketch does not have dimensions, I'm just going to go with 1 grid is equal to 1 inch. It seems like it's going to help me not make errors in counting while I'm doing this video. So I've already marked out the dimensions of the object. So I'm going to start my drawing using the inch template. And the first thing I got to do is I got to draw the other views, the top view and the front view. So the top view is going to be, let's see, it's 9 inches, 9 grid squares. So 9 inches by 9 inches. And then we can offset like so. And now we just got to trim everything away. Make sure we're trimming the right things. Always a challenge when you put too many lines up here. And I think I did trim out the wrong thing, so we'll fix that there. Let's undo that. So let's offset 3. I shouldn't have. That's what I should not have trimmed out. So there's my top view. Okay. And now the front view. First I'm going to project this down. That'll be my starting edge. And I counted, or I make it to be 14 squares high, so 14 inches. There we go. And of course the length of it is going to be 9. And let's rejoin that back up there. And this is 3 high. We don't know what angle it is, but I know that it's from this point, which is 2 over there, to this point, which is 3 up. So then we can project this down right there, and then this right there. And of course that line is a hidden line. Okay. So here is what we're given on the sketch sheet. Top view, front view, with hidden invisible lines shown. All right, so how do we get started? Now, I'm also not going to show those projection point lines, the horizontal and frontal point line and the auxiliary and frontal point line, because we don't have those when we're doing regular AutoCAD drawings. So I don't want to, start with something that you're not going to have. I can already see that I'm going to have to move these apart just a little bit because I want to make a little bit more space. And this is the first thing I'll show you. When you're moving views, you want to make orthographic views, I should say. You want to make dead certain that you're moving along the correct direction. Okay, so let me tell you what I'm talking about. So I know that the auxiliary view for this inclined surface is going to be right in here. And I can already see that this corner right there is probably going to be out of the way, but I can't for sure be certain. And plus, even if it's out of the way, it's going to be really close. So I want to move the top view up a little bit. So I'm going to use the move command, move, and I'm just going to window this, right? But now when it says specify a base point, I don't have to pick a point in particular, right? I can just pick a point out in space, like right here. But this is critical. I want to make sure that I move it, so I click, and I move it just horizontal. Notice I don't want to move it off at an angle, then that would destroy the orthographic projection, right? So I just want to move it up. And in this case, I don't have a set distance, so I'm just going to move it up a wee bit, maybe like right there, right? All right, so that's good. So I maintain my orthographic alignment, but I give myself enough room here to draw. So how do we get started with this? Well, we can, to some extent, recreate the projection plane that we can use to get started with by using the offset command. And I'll show you that little trick, okay? So remember, the offset command creates a parallel copy of an object, right? So if I go to offset and say offset, let's say 2, and I pick this line to offset, it basically is the copy command, but it makes a parallel copy, right? So it offsets this so that it's parallel 2, in this case, inches from the original. So really, to get started with my first edge, which I know is going to be right here, and I know I want that to be parallel to this surface, I can just use the offset command here, okay? The only trick is, when I use offset, remember that it first asks for offset distance. Well, I don't know what the offset distance is. That's kind of arbitrary. It's whatever looks good. So I can pick 2 points, right? I don't need to type in a distance, which I might mess up, make it too far, too close, whatever. So instead, I can go like this. Watch. I can just, and maybe I'll use this as a reference. I could, use any point here, but watch. I'm going to go like this. This is 1 point, and I'm going to say I want it to be right about there, right? Click. So now that distance from there to right about there is my offset distance. And now I can offset this line that distance, okay? Now, what's great about that is it copies the whole line. So I get the endpoints perfectly aligned right there, okay? And now it's just a process of remembering our, what's called our common measurement, okay? This is the term for this. This depth right here is going to be this depth right there. All right, that's called the common measurement. So again, with with offset, watch how we do this. Offset, I'm going to go pick that point and that point. I get that distance put in, and then I offset it right there. Okay. So I can do that again. I want to offset here to here, that distance. There, I know it's repeated there, and I know it's repeated there, all right? So now I can kind of start to get this. This is where you kind of have to play the game of drawing a little bit, trimming a little bit, so that you're not totally confused. So in that works for dimensions in this direction, right? What about dimensions in this direction? Well, we should project them. So here's where I want to make sure I have my object snap, whoops, wrong one, object snap perpendicular on. Where is it? Right there. I don't have it on, so I'm going to turn it on. And just so I'm not confusing AutoCAD or myself, I'm going to turn off midpoint. I know I'm not going to be drawing to midpoint, so I don't need midpoints. Okay? So I'm going to turn that off. And the problem is it might pop up. And if I'm not paying attention, then I might accidentally grab that. So we'll go to line, and we're going to project this edge perpendicular through here. Now you see the perpendicular object snap? There we go. Okay? And let's do the same thing here. We project that, and we go perpendicular right there. Okay? And now I think we need to trim. So let's go to trim. I'm going to pick everything on the screen and hope for the best. There we go. Of course, you can use your sketch, if you did it properly in the sketch, then you just need to make sure that this looks like the sketch that you did, and it does, okay? And so there we go. All right. So there's our auxiliary view. So in that demonstration, notice that a couple of techniques that we used. We used the offset to establish that parallel entity, that parallel edge. We wanted to create, basically we wanted to create this edge right there. And in order to do that, we offset this, which must be parallel to this, to this edge. We offset this line an arbitrary distance, turned out to be 5.354, something like that, an arbitrary distance right there. Okay. And then we use the common measurement, picking off distances here and applying them here, and then projecting and using the object snap perpendicular. Okay. Now, this is kind of as far as we went with the sketch, but let's go a little bit further and add in the non-inclined surfaces, right? So I'm going to add in this surface and this surface back in there. So I can project. Now, here's a little trick. Watch. I want to project this up here, but, you know, how can I do it? I don't have a perpendicular. Can I move over here and get perpendicular? Kind of. What if I do object snap override? I type in perp, and then I go, look at that. All right, so I can type in perpendicular. That forces what's called an object snap override, which means that AutoCAD turns off all the object snaps except for the one that I typed in, which in this case was perpendicular, and then that's the only one. All right, and then as soon as that symbol shows up, I can click and it goes there. Let me show you another way to do that. So I'm going to erase that. Let's go back to line, and I'm going to pick this right here. Now, you'll notice, let me go down here. You'll notice that there is also a parallel object snap. All right. So I'm going to turn on parallel object snap and watch how you can use this. So we go over here and you see, as soon as I move over this and it shows me the parallel symbol, then watch how, it snaps right into it, right? Now the problem with that is it doesn't give me an endpoint, right? So, you know, maybe object snap override was a little bit more efficient, but that's two methods for you to use, parallel and the object snap override. Personally, I don't often use parallel. I find it, it's just not, you know how you have a toolbox when you're working on things and you have the tools on top that you always go for, and then there's some tools down below underneath on the second level that you don't often use, but they can be helpful. That's kind of how I view parallel. I don't often use it because it's just not on top and I can do everything normally. So we'll do that. And we'll extend that, and then we'll trim. Now, when I do this, you're going to maybe have a hard time seeing what's going on here or understanding, because this surface right here that I just drew, this surface, and in fact, maybe I can hatch it right there. That surface is foreshortened, and it is this surface right there. Okay, so I don't want that hatch in there, so let's get rid of that. Now, I want to do the same thing down here, right? So I want to draw a line from here, and now I'll do perp, and we'll go over there, and we'll project that over there, and then I'll extend these down like so. Okay, this edge right there. Whoops, excuse me. Let's do this one first. This edge right there is that edge right there, and that edge ends right there. So all right. So this surface, let me do this again. This surface right here is this surface. It starts right here and it ends right there. Okay. Again, like I said, a little bit hard to see. It's normal. This is auxiliary views. They're a little bit weird. This edge right there is this surface. which ends right here. So we'll go perpendicular again. See, look at, this is a good example. Look at how crowded, you got all these object snaps on. This is a good time, because you don't want to accidentally choose an endpoint or something like that, to just use object snap override. Type in perp, and then that's the only one that will be active. Okay. And let's trim that. And we'll trim that. And there we go. Okay. So again, this surface right there is that surface right there that we see here as an edge. Okay. All right. Last but not least, let's get this hidden. So this is not complete yet. There is a hidden line back here. And so it's this back edge, and it goes from all the way through. And of course, that's a hidden edge. Hidden. There we go. All right. So that is the complete auxiliary view of the object. That is the object looking at it from this direction. Okay. And I think this is a good example of why we do partial auxiliary views. We went from having an auxiliary view of an inclined surface that we could understand, right? This kind of outline, the same one that we sketched, to this thing with just a whole mess of lines in it. And now you're looking at it and you're going, what the heck is that? And it's even hard to conceptualize what it is. And that's a good example of why we would create a partial auxiliary view. So here's what I'm going to do, just so that we can be clear on this. I'm going to copy this. Remember, this is not one of your assignments. I'm going to remove this and this, and I'm going to copy it from here to here. This is not one of your assignments. All right. Whoops. But now I want to kind of compare and contrast these two. So we'll go back to our original. All right. So here we have our top view and front view and primary auxiliary view of this inclined surface right there. All right. This is a partial auxiliary view. We're only showing this surface. Here is the full auxiliary view of this object. So we're showing the surface, but in addition, we're showing all the other surfaces and edges, right? So there you go. A little bit of a example of drawing auxiliary views in AutoCAD, a little bit of an example of why we do primary auxiliary views and how to create a full auxiliary view, and really why we don't spend a lot of time making full auxiliary views. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.